So you can see here, here's my sketch. I just took a picture of my phone, nothing fancy. And you can see here, I went over it with a pencil just to make the lines darker so we can see it. So what I'm going to do, just want to scale this up. And you can see my artboard, it's 1080 by 1080. So if I just double click, you can see the sizing there. So that's a pretty standard square size, which is pretty good. And I can use that for Instagram later on. So I'm just going to scale this down, try and center it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Sweet, so that's good. So what we want to do is put this image on a new layer. So I've got my swatches here that I just made. You can see there. And I'm just probably going to drag that back up into the panel there. So you can see you can put that in. And I'm going to click my layers panel. Go to window and down to layers in the middle section there. You can see that. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to double click on the name and rename it to image. And what I'm going to do is select the image and then drop the opacity to about 70%. Maybe 60% is fine. Yeah, that's good because we want it to be in the background. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut off some of it. So I'm going to press M for a rectangle. And I'm going to make a clipping mask. So I'm going to make a clipping mask and I'm going to select the shape and select the image. To go to object, clipping mask, make. So you can see now the image is within the box because I don't like it hanging out. Just keeping it clean, keeping my workspace clean. And just moving that a little bit. And what we can do now is just lock that layer by pressing next to the eye. You can see, you can turn that off. The next one you can press the lock, and that's going to lock the layer. So what we can do now is make a new layer by pressing the document new button in the bottom there, and we've just made a new layer. What we're going to call this is trace. And you can make new layers. We might build everything on its own layer, just to keep everything clean. So we'll just first call it trace for now, and we'll just start from there. So what I'm going to do is start to build the bowl. So you can see here it's like a mini world. We've got some silhouettes here, some gingerbread men, got some donuts, some ice cream, cake, all the sweet stuff, even a bit of fruit there, strawberries, and this is some like cream oozing out of it. So just be creative. It's good to, when you're doing your sketches, to just come up with ideas and just throw it in there. And so what we're going to do is start building this bowl first. I'm going to use the pen tool and also the shape tools. So you can see on the left hand side, if I go right click on my shape rectangle tool there and press this little arrow, it's going to bring this out like that. So you can see that. I can also bring out my pen tools there as well. So you can see there. So you can select the shapes and left click like that to start making the shapes. So you can see that like that, which is pretty handy. So first up, I'm going to use the pen tool. So P is the shortcut for that. And I like to start with a nice bright color. So we'll go with this orange. And I'm just going to start to drag out on this bowl. So you can see all you do is left click and then drag out, and it creates these handles. And if you hold Alt or Option on a Mac, you can actually move this handle to create that curve and change the direction of it, which is pretty handy. And you can see here now this pen tool is curving here, but we don't want that. So what I can do is hold Alt and drag this handle outwards like that to get the curve to go downwards instead of out. So you can see now I can continue now with the bowl here. You can hold Shift to keep the proportions, a 45-degree angle or a 90-degree angle. I'm just going to drag that out like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, and like that. So you can see all it took was 3 anchor points, and now we have a bowl there, which is pretty sweet. So we've got our bowl, and what we're going to do is we're going to start to create this oozy stuff out of it. So we're going to leave it as a stroke. To switch a stroke to a fill, you can go Shift X, and it's going to quickly shift it like that, which is pretty handy. And I'm going to leave that. I'm going to lock that shape by pressing Control or Command 2. And what I want to do is now use the pen tool again and start to get this cream out. So I'll change the color. I might do it like a red so you guys can see. So what I do is just go through this, manipulating the handles and just creating nice curves to get that natural look, organic look. Curvy lines always makes things look more organic instead of just straight and pointy. So you can see I'm just following my sketch. It doesn't have to be directly on the line, but you get the point there. And if you want to get a nice smooth curve, try and minimize the amount of anchor points. Instead of clicking everywhere along the line, you can just do one long stroke, which looks a lot better. And sometimes it's good to, you know, if you can't really see your image, you can up the opacity as well to make it more visible. But I just find it easier to do this. I just zoom in a lot just using the Alt key, as well as you can use the spacebar key to move around your screen, which is really handy as well. So almost finished here. You can see how it's looking there. We'll just connect it like that. Cool, so you can see that how it's looking. Some of the points is too pointy, so you can see here how it's too pointy there. And what we can do is actually press A for the direct selection tool and select that anchor point. And you can see you can get this little white dot if you're in CC. If you're not in CC, it might not pop up. So if you go to the top, you can see the corners. So you select the corner and then you can just type in the amount you want, or you can just hold shift or press the up keys and it's going to round that point off like that. So you can do it that way, or if you're on the CC, you can just drag it like this. So I'm just smoothing out that corner like that. And I'll do the same as well. So it looks like it's flowing because it's like liquidy. It's like a custard cream that's coming out of the bowl. So you don't want it to be too symmetric, too pointy. So you can see there, you know, you can go in and edit some points. It's looking funny. Cool, that's sweet. Just up the stroke there. So you can see you can up the stroke from the top left corner. You can see there. That's how I'm doing that really quickly. And then I'll go through and just add these little specks and dots as well. So what I'm doing here, I'm just leaving open strokes. So we can worry about these details later, but I'm just going to add it now. So I just finished doing our bowl with our cream and stuff coming out of it. So what we're going to do, we want to put this on its own layer. So you can see here it's called trace. So I'm just going to change the name, double click, change it to bowl, and then we can start working on the insides on the ice cream and all that stuff there. So we can leave it as a stroke if we want, but I'm actually going to shift it around. Just use the fill there. And we'll just change that color for now. I'm going to unlock, so they've got the bowl there. So you can see that I'm just using simple colors. And I'm just holding shift and going through and selecting these shapes. So you can see there, oops. Control C that. Okay, just select them again. And then you can just hold Shift X. So you can select multiple objects. Just Shift X, and then what I'm going to do is just change the color. And we'll add more details later. Yeah, we'll just leave on that white there. Then I'm just going to lock that, lock the bowl. And then with these strokes here, just holding Shift again. And then I'm just going to put it for a darker color now. We'll leave it for white for now, and then we'll add details later on. Cool. So we got that, and then now we can just lock that layer. So you can see I can turn it off and on. You can see just like that, we've created that, and we're going to add some details later on. So we're going to make a new layer. Call it ice cream. And we'll start with the ice cream on the left. And start building that out. For this, we can just do simple shapes. So I can just press L for the ellipse tool, or just click that there. And make sure we just select the bright colors so we can see what we're doing. Holding Shift and Alt will allow you to create a circle that's within proportion. You can also go on the corners and just drag that in like that. With your normal selection tool, so just V is for the normal selection tool, A is for the direct selection tool. So we're going to use that. You can drag that in. I can also grab the boundary box on the side there and just blow that out like that. Just to make it like an ellipse, like an abnormal circle. You don't want to be too perfect. And we'll just build the top there. And then what I can do for this is get the pen tool again. And I'm just going through. And then if you want to get rid of the handle on that corner, you can just click it and continue. So you can see I'm making the ice cream layers. You can see here it's a bit weird. So you gotta be careful of the handles. And you can also delete points there. And we want to bring it out of the boundary there. So then what we can do, we can select both of these. And what we can do now is press Shift M for the shape builder tool. And I can actually just minus, holding Alt, you can minus, if you click and drag, you can minus those strokes off like that. So now if I click as well on this top part, I've just made a shape. So you can see there, now we have two separate shapes. So you can see that just like that. And then what I can do is actually go to Object, Arrange, and bring Center back. So what's this going to do? You see how it didn't go to the back? It's because this layer is on top of the bowl. So what we need to do is bring this ice cream to the back, under the bowl layer, and you can see now it's at the back. So So you can see that. Just like that. So I'm gonna go to the bow layer and just edit this. Like that. Cool. Unlock that. And you can see there now we have our ice cream. You can go here and edit these as well if we want. It's cool. It's got that ice cream, and we'll add the sprinkles too. So what we can do with those sprinkles, you can actually use the brush tool or the pen tool if you're up for it. So we can go through and build it like that way. Or what you can do is go to your brush tool here, and you see you've got this basic stroke. You can press B for the brush tool, and if you click, you can actually just click and drag like this. You can also select the thickness by doing that as well, and change the stroke. So this is a quick way to do it. You can press B and just click and drag. And we want to make sure it's all similar sizing. And you can actually just select those, group them together if you want. I'm just going to change the color for now. So you want to have variation. So try and keep the sizes all different. Try to make it look organic, so don't put them too close together. Sweet. And what I like to do to quickly select them all, we can actually just click one of them. And what we can do is go to select at the top here, go to same, then we can click appearance, but I like to do fill in, we can do stroke color because it's purple and we have nothing else that's purple. And you can see in one go it selects all the sprinkles like that. And then I'm going to press Control or Command G, and that will group everything as one group. So if I click on it now, you can see it's a group. So I can move the sprinkles around like that. So we've got our sprinkles, we've got our ice cream there, and we're going to build this cone out. So once again, I'm going to use the pen tool. See there, we've got a nice round top. So we'll make it a bit of a curve. Do that, and then bring it down like this, and we'll connect it. So we've got that shape, and it's going to be behind the ice cream scoop. Cool, so we've got our ice cream there, we've got our cone. You can see how it's going to be like a crunchy cone, so we're going to add some of these lines here to break up the shape, just to make it fun and quirky, because you don't want things to be too simple. So once again, I can select it all and then press Shift M for the shape builder tool and minus these strokes off, just like that. So you can see you've got all those shapes, and then once again you can left click once on each of these shapes, so then you have all these separate shapes like that. And then later on we'll create some detail. So that's done, and what we're going to do now is create another layer, and we'll call it strawberry. So use your layers to your advantage. A lot of people don't try and avoid layers, but it's actually really helpful to use them. And then if you want it to be behind, make sure you bring the layer below the other layer that you want it to be behind. And I'll try and use some of these colors that I've created here. So once again, just using the pen tool, creating these. And then what will do for this, using the pen tool, just holding shift. And then what we can do is select this and press Ctrl J, and that will join that together. And I'm just gonna straighten this. And I'll press O for the reflect tool, and you can actually reflect this to make it even. Make sure the shape is actually selected. Press O, then hold Option or Alt. And if we preview, it's going to show you what it's going to do. So what we want to do is copy it vertically and press copy here on the bottom left. And it's just created a nice half there. And what I can do is select both of these, press Shift M for the shape builder tool, and just plus that like that. So we have like our seed for the strawberry. And what we can do is just holding Alt, you can just copy that around. I think this is too pointy, I'm just gonna. So I'm just holding Alt. If you're on a Mac, you just hold Option. Maybe change the sizes a bit as well, just to get some variety. Experiment with that. So we've got our strawberry seeds there. Cool. Sweet, so we have the strawberry, and then we're gonna make another layer. Lock that, bring that up, and create the next thing. And make sure you name your layers simply. Things that you're gonna understand with this, so you're not getting confused. And you can see there by just naming and doing, simply, it's gonna make a difference. So for the donut, I want to press L for the ellipse tool. Drag out a circle, you can see that. My smart guides are turned on, which really help as well. If you go to view, you can go smart guides, Control U. They really help a lot. And I'll just put this on a stroke for now. I'll just use purple. And then I'm gonna do it again with the L. So we've got that in the corner there. And usually oranges have like a thing at the end. And I'll bring that to the back. Cool. Got some fruit. Got some junk food in there. Now what we're going to do is make another one. So you can see the patterns that we're creating here. Very simple, and as I'm going, I'm just locking them. So then you can just go through and turn off the ones you don't want. And you can see your progression there. So slowly, it's all about just building up layers and building shapes. So with the cake, we can just use a normal rectangle tool. So the shortcut key for that is M. I'm just holding Alt or Option if you're on a Mac. So you can make sure that's at the back there. And then what we can do is press A for the direct selection tool, select the points in the back, and you can actually drag these down like that to round that off. So you can see we've got rounded corners there. And then I'm going to use the rectangle tools again to create that layer in the cake. And then I'm going to get the shape builder tool and just minus those off. So we have a shape there and a shape there, as you can see, like that. And don't worry about this because this other candy thing is going to be above it. So then what we can do is just hold Option and just copy these, and then just scale it down, and use the boundary box, the transform box there. But you can see there it actually can damage the corners, so sometimes it's not going to look good. So you got to be aware of that as well. If you stretch it too far. Make another copy. And then we've got cherries on top. So it's good that, you can use any colors really when you're just starting off. It can all be one color, but I'm just getting, trying to get a feel of where my colors are going to be. I'm just going to do 2 strokes like that. It's actually 1 stroke. And what I'm gonna do, another cool trick is that we can just make some circles like this. So we've got our shape there. I'm just gonna change it to a fill so you can see. So I'm just holding Shift, and then I'm just pressing Command D to just duplicate it. And drag it once down and then duplicate. So now I'm just going to lock these here, select it all, and actually what we're going to do is we're going to use select, same, fill color, and then what we're going to do is if you go to the Pathfinder tool, there's another way you can actually plus objects together. Window and Pathfinder, so you can open that. And you can see the first one is Unite. So once you've done that selection and selectable, you can press this shape mode, Unite. It's going to make it all one shape. So from that, we can select this shape and this big square. And I can use the shape builder tool again by pressing Shift M and just cutting that excess off. So now you can see we've got that nice, flowery feel to that cake there. And then we can once again copy that and do it up there for the other cakes. Actually, I'll just so we'll do it again. You can try and make it the same size or just make it smaller. Control Command D. So we'll lock these, and then once again select same fill color, and then we're going to press Unite, select the same thing, and then cut off the excess there. I'll do the same for this. I'm gonna make this a bit smaller. I'm no cake expert, but I'm just creative. Select same, fill color again. Well, make sure you lock those two so it doesn't select the other ones. So these are really handy tools, going to help you. Unite, Shift M, select, make sure they're both selected, Shift M, like that. Looks a bit funny, but it's alright. Cool, so we got that done, and we're going to lock that layer, make another one. Originally this was going to be a watermelon, but I'm just going to make it like a candy, jelly candy. Cool thing is about this, because we've got a lot of colors, we can actually go to color guide as well. And if you go to color as well, you can go and click on the drop down menu and go to CMYK, and you can play around with these sliders and edit it really easily, just like that. So we can just get all these new colors. Actually, I'm not going to do it like that. What I'm going to do is just make it so you can see we have the shape there. Once again, we're going to use the same what we did before, create just some circles and put it like that, and then we're going to minus that off like that, so you can see it looks like someone bit at it. And then for this one, select it and cut off the excess there. As you can see there, cool. Let's put some some flavor on the top. Looks very sugary, and I'm gonna make sure that's above the cake there. And actually might just unlock the cake and bring that shape I'm just gonna bring it under that, and we're going to just bring it down so you can see the cake there at the donut. Cool. So we got that. I'll turn the candy off so we can just get this sponge swirl. Make sure you're saving your work as you go along as well. Create a spoon for this. So everyone knows what a spoon looks like. I'm just going to move that handle there. So just using the pen tool. You can use the ellipse tool as well for that, for this section. To get a nice round circle, or just a pen tool if you're really good with it. If you trust yourself with it. And I'm just going to round off those corners there. I need like a brown color. Cool. So I'm just on free pick and I just typed in gingerbread man and we're gonna add these silhouettes to the spoon now. So we're just gonna go through and I think we're gonna pick this one. And I'm just gonna download that. So once you download that from free pick, what we can do is we just want the gingerbread man. And we actually don't want all the details, so what we can actually do is just select it and go to the Pathfinder and just click unite, so we just get the shapes. And I'm just going to ungroup that. So I'm just Control C and then Control F or V. You can see my thing went all white. So we've got our silhouettes here and we can just bring them down, scale it down a bit. We'll just make it black for now. And we're gonna do some editing. You can see this one is like its arms are folded. So we can just go through here with the pen tool, just add an extension. To the arm there. And just copy that. So if you go to your transform panel, click the drop down menu, go to flip horizontal. It's a quick way to do that. Flip it. So we got that, and we're gonna go to Pathfinder and unite. So you got that gingerbread, and then we've got this guy down here. So this is a perfect one because he's like swinging on the spoon, which is pretty sweet. And I'm just going to make a stroke. Maybe we should just like leave it like that. Cool. And I'll leave that for now. Awesome. So there we've got our foundation, we've got our basic shapes. Hopefully that's all on the spoon layer. So we've got all our layers as you can see there. We started off with the bowl. And then we built it out. Then what we're going to do now, we're going to add some details, we're going to fix up the colors and make it look nice. So before we start designing our illustration, what we're going to do is start finding some colors and build some palettes. So I love going on Unsplash and finding some pictures. I just typed in desserts. These photos are free high resolution photos that you can use, and they're royalty free. You don't have to give any credit. And what I'm looking for is some nice palettes, some nice pictures where you can draw some colors. So what I did, I picked this picture here. I really loved it. It's got a lot of colors in there, but what we're going to do, we're going to bring it to Illustrator and start drawing from it. But you can see here you've got all these other photos. So it's good to build colors from real life imagery and real life objects. So you can see here some cupcakes, some nice blues there. Even these macaroons over here, got some nice colors, very bright. Or with dessert, it's really pastel-y as well, because it's very sweet tooth. So you can find these cool pictures, just download some of them, and then what we're going to do, you can just draw some colors out of that. So I'm going to go into Illustrator now, and you can see I've got my photo here that I've just dragged in as a JPEG. And what we're going to do, we want to open up our swatches panel. So go Window and go down to Swatches, and then you can get this up. And on the corner of our swatches, you can see there's a little, there's 4 lines, and we want to click that menu. And what we want to do is go select all unused. And what it's going to do, it's going to select all our swatches or our colors here. And we can actually delete these ones because we're not going to use them. And what we do is just press the little bin in the right corner there, as you can see. Click that, you'll get an option and just press yes. So now we can see all our swatches are emptied, and now we can start building colors from this panel here. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to lock this image, and then what we're going to use is the eyedropper tool. So if you press I for the eyedropper tool, it's also located on the left here. As you can see there, I just right clicked and you can see I is a shortcut, and you can see my mouse has changed. And what we can now do is draw some colors from here. So I really like these, oranges, greens, the purples. So we can just go in and zoom in. I'm just holding Alt, and you can actually zoom in with your mouse wheel like that, which is pretty simple. And I'm going to start selecting some of these colors. So you can see there, once I've got that color, I can just press this button here. It looks like a little paper document. And then once you do that, what you want to do is click global. This will make it a global color, so it's very useful later on. So that means if you have multiple objects of the same color, you just edit that one color, and it's going to edit the color over all the objects, over all your artwork. So that's really handy to keep in mind. So you can see there, I'm going to start just drawing colors from this little cupcake pancake thing. It looks really nice. So we've got some reds, some oranges, some pinks, even an off-white there. Sort of like Christmassy colors a little bit. So we've got some of those. We can go down here, get some purples. And the cool thing with this is that it's just fun, you're just getting real colors. And if you zoom in even more, you can see all the pixels there. Because it's an image, you can see if you just click it like around and you find the squares, you can get a lot of different tones. So keep that in mind as well. And the cool thing I like to do as well, I like to make some groups. So you can see in my swatches panel, there's a folder. You just click that and call it, color group. So you can name the group if you want, and you can see there, I can actually just drag the colors now into that group there. So if I have one palette, I can keep it like that, and you can just make as many groups as you want. So it's really handy by doing this. I want a lighter green, like that. So you'll go through the image, do it on any other image you find, build some color palettes, build some groups, try and find at least 3 or 4, and then we're going to start to use this in our illustration. So we're going to continue from here, and what we're going to do is start adding some detail. I'll fix up some of the colors, add a bit more palettes, and we're going to work with this and start adding some detail. So you can see now, we've got all these just basic shapes, and what we can do is start to add some gradients and flat shading. So it all depends. Sometimes you can do soft shading, or you can do more hard shading. Just depends what you want to go for. You probably might do a little bit of both. But we'll start off with the bowl here. So I'm going to unlock the bowl. Sometimes I usually put shading on a different layer, but we can probably just leave it on each layers. So what I'm going to do is select this, and I'm just going to hold Alt to copy that down. And what we're going to do is add a bit of a shadow. So I like to use multiply usually. And I'm just going to bring that behind. And actually might pick this darker color here. And we don't want this excess hanging out. So we just want it under the bowl. We might leave it on brown actually as well. Should we leave it on 80%? So what we're going to do is select the bowl, create a copy of it. So Control C, Control F. Bring that to the front. So you can see now, I'm going to select the bowl and that shadow that we just made. Press Shift M for the shape builder tool and just cut off the excess. So I'm going to hold Option and you can see I can just left click and minus that excess off. So now as I delete that, you can see now we've got a bit of a shadow under here. You can make it a black if you want, or just keep it. I might make it a bit of a darker pink. Yeah, there we go. Then you can play around the blending modes. Usually multiply works best, or hard light's okay. You can play around with the opacity there if you want to be more subtle. Cool. So we've got that, and then we're gonna add some shading on these guys as well. So once again, we'll just make a copy. So we're pretending that the light's coming from above. I'm gonna get the eyedropper tool by pressing I, and then select the same color of that. And then I'm going to bring it to the back, bring it back on, so you can go arrange, object, arrange, and bring back, send backward. So you can do that by pressing Command or Control left square bracket. If you wanted to bring it up, you can bring it right square bracket. So you can see it's under the little blobs now. So it gives a bit of a dimension, makes it look like it's popping off there. So you can see that. That's the difference there, which is kind of good. Cool. So we got that, and I think I'm just gonna leave the bowl as is. Actually, I'm gonna do a shadow. So we're gonna do a bit of a hard shadow now. So the good thing about Illustrator is you can go into isolation mode. So if I double click on an object, it's gonna isolate everything else and just get that one object. So I'm going to just hold Alt and just zoom in here. And what I can do is get the pen tool. And I'm just going to drag a nice big curve like that. And this is going to be my shadow. So you can see that I'm going to select the bowl and the shadow now and press Shift M and then minus that excess off. And then what I'm going to do is just select black and put it maybe 20%, put it on multiply. Maybe 10%. So you can see it's out of the shadow there. I don't really like the black though. I think brown works a lot better. Just using this brown. Oh, there we go. Just use that slightly pink color so it looks like there's a bit of a shadow there. Cool. So I've added some shading to there. And you can actually add a nice gradient to this cream as well. So what I want to do is get my gradient panel up. You can go to Window and Gradients to get that up. Just going to drag this fill color into my slider here. Make sure you have the cream selected. And then what we can do, just have a lighter color or a lighter pink. Oh, that's too bright. So you can see that, but we're going to change the angle to 90 degrees. So you can see that. If we want the darker color to be at the bottom, I might make it a bit darker by going to the color panel at the top here, going to the drop down menu and going to CMYK. Or even the hue and saturation and brightness you can do as well, HCB. And I can bring this to darker. I see it's gone to a darker tone. Or I can bring this red color up like that. So I might bring that red and this bit down, just to get a darker tone. And even changing the hue a bit, so you can play around with the hues and get a nice, if you want. So we'll leave it like that. It's kind of looking good, so it looks like there's a bit of a shading there. So there adds a bit of dimension to it. Cool, so once we've done that, we're going to start to move on to our next objects. So lock the bowl and we're going to the ice cream. Same thing again. Make sure nothing's locked, so press object, unlock all. So I'm just going to drag. Just going to make a multiply. Once again, I'm going to Control C, Control F, make a copy of this top bit. Then cut off this bit there. So I'm going to grab these pieces and cut off this X as well. So you always want to make sure you select both objects, the objects that you want to cut off, so it can recognize, Illustrator recognizes the shapes there. So I might make it that color there. Yeah, cool. Once again, we're going to get the gradients. And we'll just put a lighter brown here. 90 degrees. And just play around the sliders here so you can see I like putting in the middle. So it gets a nice mix there. And the cool thing is you can even add another lighter brown on top of that. Make sure the item's selected. So you get a nice tint, and you can even like maybe make it, if you want to fade it out a bit. So you can see it adds like a nice highlight on the top there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. And these pink dots, you can play around with the blending modes. I actually like overlay. Yeah, overlay looks good. So that's looking awesome. This is meant to be like a vanilla color, so I might make it like that color. And the cone will make it more we'll add some orange in there. Make it a bit lighter. So we're going to add some shading for this. So once again, I'm just going to group this ice cream together, all these points. So hold shift, select them, and then go Control G, and then double click to isolate. Now what I'm going to do, get the pen tool again and just start creating some shadows. Select everything and then just cut that off. Oops, make sure you don't select the whole thing. Maybe 20%. I'll put on 40% just to be consistent with the other shadows down here. Cool, so you can see they're starting to get shading and it looks like the light is coming from above, which is pretty cool. Add some dimension. Now we're gonna go to the strawberry next. So just by adding simple gradients and just playing with colors, you can get a nice palette going. So isolate mode again. So always see where the shadow is, predict where the shadow is going to go. And then multiply and then always drop it to about 40%. I try and like aim for 40% because it looks nice. You don't want it to too overpowering because you can see it's too saturated. You can see there. And I don't want that to happen. I just want it to be a subtle shadow. And we can add some highlights on this leaf here. Same thing, just get the pen tool. And then minus that. And we'll go to transparency panel and go to color dodge. Or overlay is usually nice as well. Actually, we'll probably go color dodge. Let's add a bit of a shading there. And then we can copy this. And then cut that excess off. So make sure you're always copying and pasting cutaway shapes. And then we'll bring that behind. So it looks like this leaf has got a shadow there. Sweet, that looks nice. Put that 40%. So all these little details, as you zoom out and in, you can see it's making a big difference. Now onto the donut. I don't know if I like this dark brown. Just pretend it's a chocolate donut. Actually, I'm gonna add some sprinkles. So I'm just gonna create a circle with the ellipse tool. Just some different sizes. I'm gonna lock that shape. I'm just gonna exit out of that. It's not doing one. Just Control Z that. Alright, what we're gonna do is just gonna make circles. And then we're gonna put it on color dodge. I'm just gonna copy and paste these circles around. Try and make a variety of different sizes, so just scale that down. Out of the way. So we've got a bit of a shadow there. I'm gonna play with. Just gonna click on this gradient here. And with this icing, we're gonna add. The cool thing is you can just double click on a slider there and we can actually play around with it. So maybe you want it like a darker pink. Cool. And we'll switch it. This button here does a reverse. So you can, there we've got like a, adds a bit of dimension to that pink there. Sweet. Go into the orange. Slowly it's coming together. Control Z that, do it the other way. So we're just repeating the process. And we can always go back and add more highlights as we see fit. And then multiply. Bit of a shadow to that. The straw. And then we'll add a bit more light. So drag it up, hold Alt, and you can actually copy these. Another thing you can do is actually go into the swatches panel and drag down swatches from there as well. Change the angle to 90%. It's not bright enough, it's not enough contrast, so I'm gonna just drag a lighter color. Cool, that's looking fine. It's too light. We might make it this normal color. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll actually select the shape and get the eyedropper by pressing I, then just copy that same gradient, but just changing the angle. And just keep it on a linear there, just so we get that same gradient effect. And this maybe could be a bit darker. So we can go to color, then click the drop down menu, go to HSB. So we can make it a little bit darker. Actually, we might just leave it. Cool. Spoons there, so we'll just go. Slowly working our way through. It's always going to look different. That's the cool thing about illustration, because there's always going to be different lighting, different scenarios, different perspectives in each piece. So you always can play around with different ways of doing things. So we got that. We can also make this darker by putting the multiply up for that. Can leave a little gingerbread man there. Try the fill. Choose a lighter brown. Subtle gradients always make the difference. You can hold shift and just it moves this by 10. Maybe it needs a bit more lighter. Too light. I guess we'll just leave it like that. We can probably make this a darker one. It's better. I'll double click on this. Get this color, go to transparency panel again and multiply. And 40%. Cool. So it's always the key to select the same color as your main object has. I don't know what just happened there. Select the wrong thing. Always pick similar hues. This might look a bit different, so I have to put this on the orange one. Once again, I'm going to color, and you can even just make it lighter like this. Change the angle. You can also play around with the radial as well, but we'll leave that for later. Add a gradient to this one. I'm not liking this yellow, but I guess we can leave it for now. Because we need some yellow in there, need some contrast. And then next one is the cake. It's the last bit. Let's see. You can see there's a lot of shapes there. I'm just in outline mode. You can see where everything is. It looks busy. Just put it above there. Just want to make sure it's outside this. Cut off the excess. And I might actually plus these together by using Pathfinder tool and just going to unite. So this is connected, so I want to get a nice gradient in there. But I want to edit this blue. We'll change the hue a bit. Yeah, that's better. Sort of subtle change. So from far away it looks like a highlight, which is pretty cool. The cherries. I'm just gonna ungroup that. We'll double click the color and maybe put it on 30%. So you can see that it's a nice, even though it's a bark, it's like a nice pastel, like painterly effect. which is pretty cool. And then I'm gonna press M for the rectangle tool and just drag this out. And then I'm gonna select the two and press Ctrl 7 to make a clipping mask, as you can see there. So I'm gonna do the same for the other texture, but I'm gonna make sure this texture is on the front, so you can see it's on the front layer. And I'm gonna pick a different color for this one. So maybe this pink, and then we're gonna flow through transparency panel, and I believe overlay looks good. Soft light's okay, but overlay looks good. But what we're gonna do is drop the opacity again, 30%. So you can see there, adds a bit of texture there, which is really nice. If I drag that off, you can see there, with the texture, it just makes it look a lot nicer. Makes it look like crumbs. And then just gonna make a clipping mask again. Select this, select that, and make a clipping mask. So you can see there, if I go and turn off the textures now, it makes a big difference. You know, you can use other textures, you can use grains. There's free textures online, you can just add them in, and they really add that nice texture to it. Another thing that I love doing as well is to play around with different colors. So I'm gonna press M for the rectangle tool, drag it out, and then I'm gonna select, you know, one of these, this red color maybe, and I'm gonna go to the transparency panel and then flow through that and see the effects you can get. Usually it doesn't look too good, but some of them you can is actually the hue, even the color as well. So hue keeps some of the original color there as well, some of the darker hues, but if it's color, then it pretty much changes everything to that one color on top. So you can see everything's like a reddish, and I can change that to a green, an orange, a yellow, and it creates a really nice illustration effect. And then I can put the opacity down if I wanted to mix it a little bit. So it just brings a bit of harmony to the whole piece. So you can see there, it just, you know, makes the colors more mix well together. That's another way I can do that to add a bit of color. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this course, and don't forget to like it and share it around.